Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Blame It on the Stars podcast. We are more than just your weekly horoscope. We spill all the tea on what's going on in the universe so you can blame your problems on the stars. It is Jade here.
And it's Kara.
And this week we've got a change of pace, a change in energy, a change in vibes. We have some good news to report to you this week. I know last week we had some good news to report as well. Just to recap, by the time this episode is out, Mars is already in Capricorn. We've got that, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, drive, power, whatever the TikTok lyrics are. We've got Venus stationed direct. Progress is back on track in relationships. Kara, how is everything going for you?
So good. I actually just realized the other day that, I guess I should fill everyone in. Now that Venus is direct, during the Venus retrograde, I ordered some new clothes. I was very cheesy, let's do the basics, capsule wardrobe type vibe. And I just want to let everyone know that I got dressed the other day in literally 2 seconds because everything matches and it was great. And I was like, wow, this is Venus. I'm just so glad that Venus is direct and I have this one small aspect of my life together, dare I say. So that's going. How have you been?
I've been pretty good. Mars in my first house has motivated me to be healthy again. Mars in Capricorn, if you're a Capricorn rising, you might find yourself kind of on the health and wellness wagon out of nowhere. I can say that I've definitely been a little bit more proactive with meal planning and getting my steps in every day and making some more progress in that regard. So that's been pretty nice. And I'm happy to know that the Venus retrograde is over. So if you are also a Capricorn rising like me and have been avoiding, any changes to your physical appearance from the retrograde, we're officially in the clear. I know that I am due for a trim, so I'm excited to get my hair cut in the weeks to come. And yeah, continuing on the good news, that we have to share. We have the end of Mercury retrograde. I can say this Mercury retrograde has been rough in my opinion. That is coming to an end this week. We have the new moon in Aquarius, and we're gonna, per usual, share all of the information about what this means. And with that being said, let's just get right into it. The new moon in Aquarius. This is the first thing that happens this week. This happens on February 1st at 12:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. New moons are times of new beginnings. They're times of setting intentions and, getting things, I guess, kind of started. Now, Aquarius energy is very innovative in nature. They're really focused on changing things up, doing things that are a little bit different than what other people do. That's why they're innovators. They're able to see things differently, think about the future, make change towards the future, and really aren't afraid of, thinking outside the box. So if you are someone who has been in need of some, change in your life, in need of shaking things up, in need of, maybe being a little bit more innovative in your approach to life, this new moon in Aquarius is the perfect opportunity for you to start making those plans and thinking about those things.
I'm actually really looking forward to this new moon, especially just because I've been, trying to get my life together. I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but I've been implementing, I guess, a lot of new things, new routines, and I'm excited for this new moon to come around because if you also are someone who's trying to make changes in your life. They don't even have to be like big dramatic changes. Like I just said, my, big change is literally like having a morning routine. Like it's not that big of a deal, but for me, like it is really helpful. So just keep that in mind because like we said, a lot of the retrograde energy is like, it's over, you know, like we're ready to like move forward. So if there has been something on your mind, something that you want to do or pursue or get started on, this is a good time, especially with, you know, Mars being in Capricorn. I also want to say too that like, I don't know, randomly a bunch of my friends, dare I say, I've been a little bit MIA just because of, you know, life, the pandemic and whatever. But a lot of people have been texting me like out of the blue, being like, hey, like Missy, like want to hang out. And I just wanted to bring that up because Aquarius does deal with like our friendships and our community and things like that as well. So if you've been wanting to be a little bit more social or put yourself out there or whatever, obviously be safe and do what you need to do. But that's another thing that might come up for you during this new moon.
Yeah, or even like if you want to make new friends, like maybe that's something you've been thinking about for a while, since Aquarius energy does deal with our friendships. Like the title of this episode is Networks, because it also deals with our like network. This could be the opportunity for you to kind of, you know, step outside of your comfort zone in terms of your social circle and start to meet new people. I know a few of my friends have been, you know, trying out Bumble BFF to meet new people. Or I know too, like going to different group activities can be something that could be fun, whether it's you going to a new group activity by yourself to meet new people, or your actual friend group itself going to some group activity for some, you know, friendship bonding. That could be something that could be interesting to explore during this time. Or overall too, like Mars is in Capricorn, so like that hustle energy is kind of here at the moment. So this could also unintentionally manifest as like actually expanding your professional network. Maybe you are trying to meet new people to gain new opportunities, or you're looking to collab with someone in a business sense, or you're just looking to, I don't know, like build better professional relationships. That could also just be a theme with Mars in Capricorn, and that, you know, new moon in Aquarius energy, you know, putting some focus on the people that you maybe like speak with in a professional setting. Networking is actually something that's really, really helpful, and I don't think people talk about it enough. Other things that are worth mentioning, though, if we want to talk about our digital network and social media, that might be something you're thinking a lot about during this time, what your relationship with social media is like. I know I've been like on this documentary binge, and lately I am a believer that social media is the root of all evil at the moment. I know Kara and I have actually been talking a lot about social media. Like, we noticed that a lot of people moved from LA to New York for the sake of creating content. Like, social media is everywhere, even when it isn't actually everywhere. You know, like this literally manifested in people moving from one side of the country to another for the sake of content. Like, that's a real life thing. Social media clearly plays a huge role in our lives, whether you're a content creator or someone who's just casually scrolling or not. So this could be a good opportunity for you to think about the ways that social media has maybe impacted your life, how much you want to participate in it, what you'd like to get out of it. I know too, we're also seeing that like tech innovation is like very relevant now again during Aquarius season. I just saw this whole thing about how people are going to have office jobs in the metaverse, and it was kind of terrifying if you ask me. Some people are so down for it and think it's so cool. Other people are literally so scared of it. Regardless, this is just an opportunity for you to identify for yourself, like how connected to social media am I? What am I gaining from this? What am I not gaining from this? And how can I make the most of my experience with it or without it?
Yeah, I know that we actually mentioned this a little bit last week about, I don't know, just like influencers and what goes behind like our decisions to like buy things. I had this one pair of jeans on my TikTok, and Jade knows because I just kept talking about this pair of jeans over and over and over again because I just kept seeing it. I ended up buying them. They are really cute. They are comfy. Do recommend. But that wasn't the point. It's just that, like, sometimes there's a lot of things that we do unconsciously, if that makes sense. So, like, it's very easy just to, like, scroll through social media and not really think about it. But, when this new moon happens, it would be a good time to actually take the time to sit down and reflect and see if you do want to make any adjustments in the way that you use social media or use your phone or interact with others online. And I also saw a really interesting TikTok where it was talking about, like, I don't know, the two different approaches, I guess, where some people just feel almost like, I don't know, they're like, I don't want to say it's insecurity. That's not necessarily the exact word, but like they don't always want to post things because they'll be a little bit self-conscious, and like just putting stuff out there can be difficult. So like for them, they like to push themselves to post more, like, things that make them happy, a cute outfit or whatever, to like give themselves permission just to like be seen online. Whereas other people are more driven, like they feel like they have to post, so that they have to do the opposite and almost like, be like, okay, like I should enjoy this for myself. Like I should take time to like be present in the moment, and like, posting and having to prove, quote unquote, that you're doing something fun was like their major like motivator, I guess, behind it. And I'd imagine that like most people fall somewhere in between the two. But regardless, like I said, it's just a personal thing and something to reflect on just because of the new moon in Aquarius. And if there's things that you do want to change, like now would be the time to do it. Like I know that I stopped using my phone in the morning, completely changed my whole like mindset and relationship with my phone. Sounds dramatic, but it really was a good thing for me. But again, to each their own.
Yeah, as of today, I just got this book. It's called Indistractable. Supposedly, this book is supposed to give you the psychological way to not be addicted to your phone and why you are addicted to your phone. Haven't read it yet, so I have no opinion on it. That's what I'm supposed to get out of it. But when I finish the book, I'll report back my findings, because currently I am trying to unplug as much as possible. You might too, because another thing that might come up during this new moon in Aquarius is figuring out where your attachment is, what you're attached to, how attached you are to that, and does that need to be released or not. Despite the fact that this is a new moon, we don't really see a lot of releasing during this time. But the one thing about Aquarius energy is it's really good with being detached from certain things. And I don't want you to hear that and think that like Aquarius are like ghosts who just like zone out all the time and like, have zero attachment to anything and anyone and aren't present, because that's not what this is about. This is kind of about being like, hey, this thing exists in my life. I'm enjoying it, but if it goes, I understand that it has to go. Whatever that might be. It could be people, it could be jobs, it could be locations, it could really be anything. It could be habits, it could be literally your phone. It's like, this is a thing that's here. This is something I enjoy or don't enjoy. And if it comes, I'll let it. If it goes, I'll let it. This is a good time to sort of practice that mentality of like knowing that things can come and go and that you don't have to cling for it to dear life. Like you can let things kind of flow in that regard, which is interesting because Aquarius is a fixed sign. So they definitely like things to, be a certain way. But regardless, detachment might be something you're thinking about at this time.
Yeah, especially when it comes to like detaching from the outcomes, I guess, of your actions or your goals, because, new moons, people like to set new intentions and start out on new projects. And sometimes we can get so caught up in what we want the end goal to be that we forget to, I don't know, be present with ourselves in the moment and to be okay with, I don't know, it leading you in a different direction than you expected, I guess, because sometimes we want things to be a certain way, or we want to do things. We're like, well, if I do this, this, and this, then it should end up like this. And that can, I don't know. There's two sides to it, I guess. Like, I do think that it's important to like have a plan to some degree. And we're probably going to talk about that when we get to talk a little bit later about Mercury being in Capricorn. Like the plan is good, but you don't want to stick to the plan so much that it like stops you from having other opportunities, or so that like you get too like, I don't know, hyped up about it, or you put too much pressure on yourself that it's okay to just be like, yeah, this is what I want. I'm going to do this, but we're going to see how it goes and still have a little bit of almost like an open mind, or yeah, just like being open, I guess, to like where things might lead you.
Yeah, especially if you're someone who is always like, this is the way things should be. This is how it's always been done, so it should stay this way. This is not the time to think like that. This is the time to be kind of like, hey, change is a good thing. I understand it might be really uncomfortable right now, and we'll talk about that literally in maybe like a second with the aspects. Like being like, hey, this change is a little uncomfortable, but I recognize it's good. Sometimes things can't always stay the same. And going to take this opportunity to let you all know that Kara and I have some talking to do with you all about change and some things that we are going to change effective like almost immediately. So you're going to want to stick around for next week's episode because we need to talk, and we'll tell you about it next week. But just wanted to let you know that in advance. So next week when that episode comes and you're a little caught off guard, now you're a little bit prepared, because we have a lot to get off our chest, to update you on, because it involves you and we don't want you to be out of the loop. Anyways, let's talk about the aspects. In case you're new to this podcast, welcome. So glad you're here. Aspects are when the planets are interacting with one another and creating a little dialogue, a little interaction, a little conversation that changes up the energy. Now, this new moon has two pretty harsh aspects, if you ask me. So despite all the good things that we just talked about, there could be a lot of hard feelings that arise just with the aspects alone. Now, the new moon, the sun and the moon, sun dealing with our identity, moon dealing with our emotions, form a conjunction, meaning it's on top of Saturn, the planet of restrictions, blockages, discipline, karma, etc. This is where that hard feelings might come up. This could feel really serious. It could feel kind of sad, a little negative in nature. It could feel a little, uncomfortable. You might feel, these are some things I need to change in my life. These are some things that I need to work on. These are some things I want to work towards. But you might feel kind of bad about it, or very serious about it, or it might be coming from a little bit more of a serious place. Like, this has been a problem in my life. This has to change because it's been a problem. It doesn't have necessarily that like optimistic, happy, like, yeah, like we're changing things up in a new season of life. Like, let's go. It doesn't have that type of energy attached to it. It's more like things have been happening. Things have been sucking. Things need to change. And I'm uncomfortable, but it has to happen.
Yeah, something that I noticed with Saturn is sometimes when it's involved in things, it marks like having a realization or just like coming to terms with something that you've known for a while. So I just wanted to mention that too, because sometimes, there's things that are happening and then you're just kind of like, oh no, like it's fine. But then once Saturn gets in the mix, you're like, okay, wait, no, it's not fine. We need to change our direction. We need to switch things up. And we talked a little bit about like authority and things like that last week too with Saturn. But I did want to mention that some of the changes that are happening might not be like something that you're initiating, if that makes any sense. Like, if you do want to make change in your life and, I don't know, start a new project, things like that, like go for it. But I do want to say that for some people, this can also be like having, those things come from external sources, things like, you know, whether your job decides if you're going to go back in person or if you're going to work from home, or even like that's kind of like my school thing where they decide, you know, we're going back on this day. Like changes like that are in our control. You know what I mean? Like it comes from somewhere else. So whether it's like school or your job or something else, just wanted to mention that that could be where some of that, like, I don't know, uncomfortable, like, what am I supposed to do now type of energy can come from, just because you just like don't know what to expect in a way. So yeah, I know that that's not like, I don't know, the best news, but it's also a reality that a lot of us have been dealing with for a while, since like the beginning of the pandemic. So I feel like it's valid just to like mention it.
Yeah, another thing too is this could indicate needing some boundaries if you were lacking in that regard, especially if it's in the friendship department, the social media department, all the things we were talking about before. This could be more of a serious, like, I need to put a boundary on it because I need to protect my energy type thing. So also want to mention, if like boundaries are a big theme for you at this time, like that is kind of why it's like, hey, I need to put some regulations in here, some rules, you know, lay the rules down so that way I can maintain my energy levels. And it could also feel uncomfortable. I know sometimes too, like if we're not used to setting boundaries, it could feel like we're being mean. So I just want to mention that if you're like new to boundary setting, like it's really not uncommon to like feel like, you know, oh my God, this person's going to be mad at me because I said no to them. Like that's normal. Like recognize that that's normal, but still set the boundary. It's going to be uncomfortable if you're new, but it's necessary.
Yeah. And sometimes you just set the boundary more than once. I know that that was a big realization for me in the beginning of this whole boundary journey, I guess, because I would be like, okay, like I set the boundary, like I tried, but like, you know, they're still asking me to like do the thing. So like it didn't work. Like, why did I bother? But no, like sometimes you do have to set the boundary more than once, and like that's okay. And it's not a reflection of you like at all. It's actually, I know that that's like a cheesy saying, but it really is a reflection of the other person, because like why are they not respecting your boundaries? You know, like this is supposed to be, I don't know, like your friend or family. I realize that like if this is a work situation, you know, it's a little bit different, but did want to mention that. And even like with myself, I guess like part of my routine problems, I guess prior to me attempting to reinstate a regular routine, was that like I wasn't setting boundaries around my personal time. Like I could set boundaries around my time to like work on school or to like edit the podcast, and like, you know, this is my editing time, and like stay focused on it. But when it came to like things that I wanted to do, or even just like do for myself, like eating breakfast, I don't know, like doing my skincare, like time like that also needs boundaries. So I wanted to mention that too, because, you know, it's important to carve out time for yourself. And that if that's something that you haven't been doing, this could be a good time to start as well, especially because there's a lot of like change going on. Sometimes having that like consistent routine, even if it's just something small, can like help you feel, I don't know, good, better. I don't know, like you have at least some type of like familiarity and structure that's going on in your life.
The other aspect that happens with this new moon is that it does have a square to Uranus. So, with that being said, you might feel really wildly misunderstood during this day. You might feel kind of just like nobody really gets you, that you think way different than everyone else. I have my moon square Uranus natally, so I can speak from experience that that's definitely the theme, where it's like, wow, nobody really gets me. Like, this is just a personal rant that is relevant though, because it relates to this energy. Like, I am somebody who, like, doesn't really enjoy free time the way that most people do. I hate watching TV. You could never catch me watching a reality show. Just not for me. Not like, unless it's like HGTV, I'm not that person. I really enjoy learning for fun. I love to be in school, actually. I love to teach myself new things. And most people look at that and see me as like someone who's just like this workaholic, sad person who never has fun. And like, let me tell you, I'm having the time of my life learning things. I love learning new skills. I love mastering a task. I enjoy it. It brings me happiness to like work on something that's like good for me, even if I'm not trying to get anything out of it. I taught myself how to crochet for no reason and I love it. And now I'm going to make a shirt for the first time. Why? Because that's my idea of fun. Why I'm bringing this up is that you might have things about you that you do that are just very different than what like most people kind of view as normal, and like that is totally okay. But if you find like some, I guess, like guilt about those things during this time, like that's to be expected, unfortunately. Like embrace your energy, embrace who you are, embrace what makes you different for sure. But there could be some guilt. I know personally I have guilt every now and then where it's like, why can't I be somebody who loves to relax and watch Squid Game? But like, that's not who I am as a person. You might have things about you that you are like, wow, everyone does this and I should do that too. And like, if it's not you, it's not you. Own it, embrace it. But I just wanted to mention that in case, again, like that thought, that realization, that feeling comes up at this time.
Yeah, that's a big theme, I think, for Aquarius energy too, because it is about being yourself and also being a part of a group and kind of like navigating that. And I think that we all, to some degree want to fit in, I guess. That's probably the best way to say it. Like we see a lot of things like on social media where it's like, oh, like I want that. You think about the people who like post those everyday aesthetic routines and we're like, oh, like I want to be like that. But then like, you also have to realize that like maybe that's not actually, what you want. Like maybe you want to work out at night. Like you don't want to wake up and go to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like everyone is different. And I think that it's okay to like honor that. And it's okay if things that you want to do aren't even like what people are posting about or what people are talking about and like whatever else. So
the thing that is worth knowing, though, is because the Saturn square Uranus situation is now involved with the new moon. This does take that thing that's happening in society and bring it to a personal level, meaning that in society right now, we're wanting things to kind of remain the same. We're trying to maintain a sense of stability and a sense of like rules and order, but know that that's not working and that the rug keeps getting pulled out from underneath us. And it's this constant uncomfortable readjustment and like wanting to keep things stable, like literally the pandemic, technology, the way things are with work, like all of that is like what's happening on a societal level. Like, hey, I should have a stable job. I want to keep making my rent payments, but like also I know that if I stay in a job that makes me unhappy, like I should just quit. Like literally the great resignation's happening. That's a perfect example. Again, the pandemic. Oh, like we knew like the best way to combat COVID was if we actually quarantined, but like it just wasn't happening that way. All of that stuff now is kind of happening on a personal level where it's like, I want things to stay the same. I want some order. I want some structure. I know that in order to see the results, I have to keep doing it for a long time. But I also know like if it's like broken, something has to change. I'm not going to sit here with something that's not working. Like I should change what's not working. But at the same time, wanting to kind of keep things, in order and to be like, hey, is it just not working because it's not working? Or is it because I haven't given it enough time to see the results? But if it's not going to work, like, why would I still do it if it's not going to get anywhere? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that to me is like that Saturn realization, being honest about, what's actually happening right now and what you actually want. So, yeah, the whole Saturn square Uranus thing too has been going on for a while. It's been there, and I just feel like what you said about how like this new moon will highlight it is like just very accurate, I guess, because it's been a lot, and a lot of the things that I think that we're realizing or wanting to change or things that are going to come up during this new moon are almost like a culmination of all of that all of that we've been going through with the Saturn and Uranus and everything changing and everything being unexpected. And like, I don't know where we're at. I really wish I knew. I wish I had answers. I don't know. But yeah, we're just still in the middle of it, I guess. And I think that a lot of things are better like understood, I guess, like after it happens, like when you're looking back. So who knows, maybe maybe when we do our year in a review, we'll have some answers all the way in December. It's still January, but yeah, it's a big part of things that have been going on.
Well, the next thing that happens is a little bit more optimistic. The moment we've all been waiting for on February 3rd at 11:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mercury stations direct in Capricorn, meaning that Mercury retrograde is over. So, moving forward, what can we expect? Now, I do want to mention Mercury's only in Capricorn for a little bit. It's really not here for very long. It's got like maybe, 11 days that it's here. So this energy comes and it goes pretty quick. But what you can expect is some logical thinking, some practical thinking, that plan that we've been talking about being like, what's actually going to work? What's the most logical thing to do? Like, that is kind of coming back into play here. Similarly, if like things have just been a mess on the communication front, like you can expect that to get better. Like I know personally, I was running into issues with email. I got locked out of my Gmail account, very Mercury retrograde. I, had issues with like my phone, very Mercury retrograde, people rescheduling things, very Mercury retrograde. That stuff is kind of going to come to an end if you've been experiencing, like plans getting canceled at the last minute, like thinking that you had an appointment at 11 and it was really at 10. Like all of that stuff is kind of going to go away again, which is nice. So love that for everybody.
Yeah, usually too, like you'll see people talk about like post shadow and things like that. Like it will take a little bit of time for things to really, I guess, like come together, like, for everything that happened during the Mercury retrograde to be resolved or come to a close or, things like that. So you might feel a little bit of lingering, but this is still very much so good news. We made it through, our first Mercury retrograde of the year. Like that's an accomplishment. We also made it through the Venus retrograde. Like, it's just interesting, I guess, to think about it that way because you think new year, new me, new things. And it's like, well, actually, we've still been in a place of reflection. But I think that, we needed that. Everyone needs to look back from time to time. And now that we have gone through that, we're ready to keep going. So, yeah, while Mercury is in Capricorn, we will definitely still be, focus on that quote unquote plan and being realistic and also like taking initiative too, because Capricorn is a cardinal sign. We have that support from Mars also being in Capricorn. So we're going to be doing things. We're getting ready to like keep going. And that's really good too, especially like right after the new moon. Like this happens a few days later. So the new moon happens, then we have Mercury going direct and we're just like, I don't know, it's a lot of like forward moving energy. And I know we said this a lot, like change can be hard. We're all going through a lot of changes. So like, yes, it might feel like things are happening fast, but like things have been on like rewind for so long that like it's okay to like, press play and like go forward now.
Yeah, especially when it comes to like your goals. I know we've been talking about goals a lot lately, but Mars is in Capricorn. So if you were someone who, when that energy shifted, like you started being ambitious again, like this is a good sign for you to like actually come up with a plan to follow through with it, to have the mental clarity to follow through with your goals. I don't think people talk about this enough, but like your mindset like plays such a huge role in your ability to accomplish the things that you want to do. Like you could be somebody who, like using our 5K example from like a million years ago, like that's your goal, is to run a 5K. But if like you mentally are like not able to like commit to it, you don't see the reason for it, you know, can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You don't have that, the clarity, the headspace to really focus and to be diligent and to be fully involved in it. Like, something could go wrong. You could, injure yourself because you're not paying attention to the way that your knees are tracking or something. Or, you just might be really tired. You're not in tune with your body and like you throw your back out. Like, or just overall, like it just doesn't happen or it doesn't feel rewarding anymore and you get upset and discouraged by it. Like, your mindset plays such a huge role in your ability to, achieve the things that you want to do. So when Mercury goes direct again in Capricorn, you might like actually kind of want to get into that to figure out like, where is your mind at in terms of your ambitions? Like, are you focused? Are you disciplined? Are you, setting yourself up for success mentally so that way you can physically set yourself up for success? Like, motivation's a mental thing too. It's not just a physical thing. Like, it can be physical. You can be physically energetic and want to do something. But if you're mentally not able to motivate yourself to accomplish something, it's definitely going to be a little bit harder. And that's not to say that it can't be done, because I understand, we've all got various life circumstances that make things really stressful and hard. But, we gotta do what we gotta do sometimes.
Yeah, I think like motivation is a really tricky thing. I was reading a whole book too on perfectionism and how like, we have this idea where it's like, I'll do the thing when I have the ideal circumstances to do the thing. So like, I'll go to the gym in the morning if I wake up, feeling motivated and awake. And then like, we wake up one day and you're not feeling it and then you don't go. And then slowly but surely you kind of, I don't want to say forget about your goals, but like they become less of a priority because you're just like, I don't want to say making up excuses because it's not really what it is. Like, to some degree, if you are too tired to go to the gym and like your body's too sore to go, like that's valid. This is just like a random example. It's just, for me, at least, it's about being honest about if the reason is quote unquote valid or if I'm just like, trying to avoid doing the thing. And also if you have a goal that you've been trying to work on and for some reason it's just not working, you probably need to change your approach, I guess, to whatever the goal is. So maybe, you want to run your 5K and you said you were going to go to the gym every day and that's not working because it's a lot of pressure. And you're like, oh, I have to go every day. I missed one day and now it's over. Your goal could be to go to the gym 3 times a week and then gradually build up to it. I realize these are all gym examples. I don't really know, but it can apply to like anything too. So yeah, it is kind of about the approach. And, Mercury being in Capricorn really help you to be realistic and honest with yourself about what it actually is that you need to do. Because sometimes, like, you have to do homework when you're tired and it won't be your best work. Like, that's kind of like the reality of it. And to expect yourself to be performing at 110% every single moment of your life, like, that's not how it works. Even like energetically, I think that it depends on everyone. Everyone's body is a little bit different, but like in general, I guess like according to our circadian rhythm and whatever else I was reading about, most people are like most awake and most active in like the middle of the afternoon. And like, I think just being aware of like what your habits are and then like fitting your goals into like your life is really important, and not to like do it the other way around, if that makes any sense. So like, you have your goal, but make it work for you.
So there is only one aspect we'll experience with Mercury in Capricorn, since it is here for such a short period of time, which is on February 11th. Mercury will form a conjunction, aka be on top of Pluto. And with this being said, you could be really like over focused on something a little. We were talking about this with Mars and Pluto, like that, like, this is my goal, this is all I care about, it's the only thing I can think about, it's the only thing I can do. It just like consumes you. That could be something that happens mentally where you're like, this is the thing that I want and I can't stop thinking about it because it's like I want it so bad, blah 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 blah. That could happen. There could also be some heightened empathy, some strong listening stuff going on that day. There's a lot randomly on February 11th.
Yeah, I think too, even just like thinking about the past, I know we've talked about this a little bit too, but I don't know. It's been very relevant. I feel like random things in my past have just like, I don't know, just come up. There's really no way to explain it other than like it just being random thoughts. But I just wanted to mention that too, because sometimes, you know, there is that like nostalgic energy, and Pluto is very healing, and it does kind of like bring things to the surface. So, you know, if you're just randomly reminiscing on things, it could be good or it could be, you know, there's two sides to everything, I guess. But did want to mention that it is a good time though if you do need to be like very mentally disciplined, because it does have that like drive to it. So if there is something like very big or something that takes like a lot of mental energy to get done, that might be happening. But like, again, if you're feeling all of the feels because Pluto is just bringing that type of stuff to the surface, then it's really important to be there for yourself and do what you need to do. I was just actually thinking about coloring again. I used to have a coloring app, and I used to have actually like, I don't know, like cute markers and a coloring book and whatever. I don't know what happened to it, but you know, if you like to color, if that is something interesting to you, if you want to listen to podcasts, if you want to go for a walk outside, even if that means you have to put your coat on and your hat because it's cold, like, you know, gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, this just could bring up some strong stuff for sure, especially because sometimes Mercury in Capricorn tends to want to suppress the emotions because of like some guilt surrounding it. So I strongly encourage you to sit with any feelings that do come up at this time and like listen to them and honor them and not judge yourself for having them, because you might be inclined to do that. Yeah, I know. Like I said, Kara and I have a hard conversation we have to have next week, conveniently during the week of Mercury conjunct Pluto. So I hope you all stick around and listen to what we have to say, because it is very important that we're all on the same page here and that we're all informed on what's going on. We don't want to leave anyone out of the loop, but we need you all to show up next week. So
we got some important things to talk about.
Yeah.
Don't be worried though. It's really not that serious. We just want to update you on, you know, life things. Don't want to give it away either, but
yeah, we'll talk next week. But anyways, that is it for this week's episode. Per usual, we hope you found all of this information to be helpful, useful, and relevant. If you want to stay in the loop with us as we continue to navigate your life through astrology, then you'll want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. It is all the same at BLME The Stars. We're on YouTube now. If you want to like read the podcast, we've got subtitle videos up on YouTube for the podcast. So that's another way to listen. Maybe you're at work or something and don't want to play it out loud and you want the subtitles on or something. You can find us there on YouTube. Just look up Blame It on the Stars podcast. We show up. That's all for now, and we'll talk next week. See you all next Monday. Bye.